Hey everybody, my name is Kalle Slaap, watchmaker from the Netherlands, and you're watching live watchmaking. And this is the most sexy automatic ever. And if I'm not mistaken, when you see the rotor, you probably agree with me, this is how it should be done. So hey Pete, Elder, Ian, nice. Hey Gary, hi. Loipin van Oslo. Everybody is there. We've done several of these Vacherons. And if I'm not mistaken, this rotor is the GOAT for me. This is how it should be done. Hey, from Bulgaria, Sofia, right, nice. Everybody is there. Ivana, Slovakia. Good to see you all. Even the bluesman is there from Zurich. Zurich. I'll show you a bit more about this beauty. And it really is. Oh! Well, let's have a look at the watch. A visual inspection. Why not? Let's do it properly. Straight graining, some scratches, but that's the least of our problems. Gold, visual inspection. That is something there on the dial. Again, no biggie, no problem. There is a fiber on the dial, I think. Or there it is. If you're wondering, that is the camera and that is the microscope, and you're watching with me through the microscope. And it is quite an unassuming watch, and mostly the real luxury brands are not that outgoing, conservative, but so beautiful. There are some stains on the Maltese cross, might be moisture. The lovely crisp print. By the reflection of the light, you can see it in relief. Well, and what I love is that there's a cyclops. But look at this, it's underneath the crystal, how it should be done. Not some pimple on the front. And now the star of the show. Okay, this looks nice. The rotor. 18 karat gold. Because of the weight. But there is so much more going on. I will take off the rotor. And that will really blow your mind. Even though I always say here, you don't have to be a watchmaker to recognize quality. You really don't have to. But in a moment I'll show you a bit more about the rotor, and oh, this is the best. It is the best. 18 karat gold. All the numbers. There's probably some play in the rotor. You can see it slightly there. Glass bead internal, which is just a nice finishing in itself. Nice and quiet. It's beautiful. Now, the promised rotor. We do all brands here. And from a very affordable to the top. and beyond. But this rotor, it is for me the balance between the elegance of the design and the functionality. And well, this one takes the biscuit. There he is. The screw was a bit iffy. Now the carbon tip tweezers, because I really don't want to damage this beauty. Here. There we go. The Vacheron Constantin rotor is just a weight that go like this, and that will wind your mainspring. And because during wearing it's constantly wound, there's a nice and constant force on the gear train, because the spring is always fully wound, which means that it is more accurate than a hand wound, because the mainspring is constantly wound, nice and constant force against the gear train, more accurate. But now let's dissect this beauty. Hey, Mr. Ed is daar. Goedenavond, Amanda. Rob, leuk dat je bij bent, man. Frans, Little Viking, Paul, everybody is there. Amat, Seiko, Jeff, hi there. Velvia, so nice to see you all. And that I don't have to do this by my own. Tom, of course. Rusty Wrench from Illinois. Well, if the Blues Brothers are from there, what can go wrong? Hey Wim, leuk dat je bij bent, man. Okay, this is it. Here, this is solid gold. Pure because of the weight. The weight is on the end, so it's a more effective swing. So a more effective winding of the mainspring. Anybody can do that. But now here we have the guilloche, the engine turning, and from the Rose engine. It is, you'll be seeing so much more of that, but here you can see it is mechanical engraving with a line, and you see one line, then the other way, just like a barleycorn, then the other way. It's just visual. We're just beginning. Then there, this line here has got straight graining. Ooh, hard to, yeah, you see here. That line, that is straight graining there. Anglage on the steel bit. Oh, I forgot about this. Oh, it's sunburst, almost snailing the top. As ever, you probably know by now that contrast is what makes things beautiful. So a different finishing there to there is what is made exciting. Hey, 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 hey. The 8 is upside down. That is cool. Might be a human error, might be a bit of fun. Here you can see the shiny bits is where it was touching the case back. Here is, I don't know the proper name, but it is the round Geneva stripes. Côte de Genève, but in the round. We're not there yet. There's so much more. This bit here is almost snailing, but it is sunburst coming from the middle. Do you see the lines? These pips there, that, and that, and that, are the tips of the screw. And Hey, Pieter. Mooi man. Als je weer thuis bent, verzend ik het boek. Komt allemaal goed. Those tips. Anybody can make the tip beautiful round and give a black polish. Especially in a round that is really not that difficult. But to make them exactly the right length, that is completely something else. Here. Because if they are protruding, sticking out, it looks horrible. If they're just too short, it doesn't work. So first you have to make them the perfect length and then do the finish, then take them out, do the finishing again. Just these screws with the shiny tips is masterful. Well, then you have to do the letters, the milling. Anybody can do that. But now, here, so many components just for the rotor. Don't you just love those rubies? Here, I know I do. The rubies, very hard material, but with a pivot on the inside. You don't even see how it is done. So they rotate around a pivot, just like a wheel, like an axle, to reduce the drag. The rubies are very hard, so they would slide anyway, but leave tiny marks. And now they are rolling, even less friction, but more of a support of the weight of the rotor. Sorry. Then on the inside nobody will see, inside of the part, inside of a watch case without a see-through case back, so nobody will see it anyway. This is perfection with the perlage on the inside here and the radial graining, polished screw heads. Just the amount of work, and not even work, but even the amount of designing just this part is completely insane. It is the best. And if I may, I think the most sexy rotor in watchmaking. This is masterful. Not just making the parts, but after they made, put together, everything is in order, then the finishing. That is a completely different finishing than this part. The top is done separately, then the guilloche, then the straight graining for just this line. Here the anglage, point the tips of the screw, and the perlage on the inside. Don't you just love the madness of high horology? And for me, this is the highest level. And for many models, personally, I think Vacheron is even higher than Patek. I know Vacheron is regarded as horologerie, which it is, but still under some connoisseurs, collectors, it is overlooked as how wonderful it is. Lovely. Makes my week. We were watchmaking without drooling. So there we are. And is it correct way up here? Yeah, here are the 8s are correctly set. Those inertia weights. And free sprung, no timing pins. This is a stud holder, black polish, of course, look at that. Inertia weights for poising and timing. I think we're gonna have a beauty of a pallet fork. The Geneva seal. Hey, and there, what we thought from the dial, remember? There is rust, so definitely some moisture on the inside. Here is a cutout, that is the dial feet. So here's the dial feet screw, there. I'll make from the Rolex Cellini from last week. I'll make some more videos from the end result. Oh, here we see in a moment the wheel with the spring on the inside. If you're not into horology, this is not even a gateway drug. You'll be lost for life. And again, the tips of the pivots there and there. The blued screws with the contrasting color are for the automatic winding module. 29 joules adjusted to heat, cold, isochronism and 5 positions. So not just beautiful but accurate as well. And the 5 positions, heat and cold and isochronism, is that it is the delta. So the difference between the positions, face up, face down, crown 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 6, 9. And heat and cold, the difference in running fast, running slow, in different positions is the delta, and the delta should be as close as 0 as possible, so then it is accurate in all positions. Lovely, 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 lovely stuff. And we haven't seen the pallet fork in full close-up, because that is the KIF shock system, Breguet overcoil. Do you see that? Again, for the accuracy. So this overcoil is that makes the balance spring a bit more helical, higher. So if it's just one side and all is flat, then it will breathe like this. And the center of gravity moves with the spring. This Breguet overcoil will breathe more like this. So the center of gravity stays more in the middle and is beneficial to the accuracy as well. But the Breguet overcoil there will only work with the Grossman inner curve. So the inside into the collet is slightly different than a normal spring. Just this chronometry is a science in itself, and that is the training I went to Worstep in Neuchâtel. So I didn't do the full Worstep training. I did that in Schoonhoven here in the Netherlands. But for just this chronometry, I went to Worstep, and that is, you will get sucked into the well, the study of it. And I was luckily enough had a very inspiring teacher, Nicholas Wolff, at the time an Irishman, and loved my time at Worstep. Ooh, quite long. Everything is so well executed. Come on. There it is. So, just go underneath. Yep. There we are. I just went underneath here. Ooh. We have to see about that. Of course, the screw goes on the inside, so it will pull them up. And here in the round is where you can see the rubies are rolling. And again, in the design, they thought about just an era of doing that. And then it will not affect this radial Geneva striping. Beautiful. And the rubies are more traditional. A curved side, flat, small flat bit, and then for the oil. There. Here. The lovely madness of the delicate perlage on the inside of the parts, contrasting with the straight graining. Do you see that? And on the inside, the radial graining. There aren't too many bad watch designs around. Not that many. And I'm not going to be disclosing which one I think they are flawed. So we are facing today looking more at the finishing, and here the straight graining, the perlage and the radial graining. On the underside of the part, just stunning stuff. And they weren't the first to do this, but look at this. Once you know what you're looking at, it will blow your mind. Because here's the wheel. And there is a slip. And this spring will make sure it only pulls one way. And do you see that the spring is on one side, well, there, but this bulk of the part is making sure it doesn't go too far. So the spring will terminate itself at the end. This is small. This is under a microscope inside the movement. Nobody will see it. And the spring has to be the perfect tension. Just a bit too hard, it will break. Just a bit too soft, it won't spring. And then again the straight graining, because we do it properly, inside the wheel. Prachtig, prachtig, prachtig. Make sure the power's from the mainspring. Ooh, there's quite a bit of play there. Here, when I go back and forth with the crown, that will need some attention. The crown wheel. Now it's winding. And here it's slipping. Just a function of that to make sure that the wheel can only go one way. Here's the slip. Ooh, there's a lot of lubrication there. And the other way it will pull. That is just... This I'm not looking forward to. But we cross that bridge when we get there. Those highly polished studs. This part is a bit overstressed. You can only do a black polish like this when it's completely flat. And here you can see, if I play with the light, that during assembly it is probably a bit over tightened. So the finishing was done when it was perfectly flat. But here you can see with the two screws that it's ever so slightly curved. Just by playing with the light. You see that? So it's under that part is under stress assembled. What loop would you use on that clutch? I think you're referring to this clutch, and that is always for us Molykote DX, so grease, the white grease. But I have to look at the specifications, what Vacheron advises. There, the anglage. Well, here it had to be perfectly flat, because this is between the bridge and the automatic winding module. So this part has to be so flat. So this is a bit more industrial like. But then again here, this ruby with the dome. So the sliding surface is a bit domed like this. So if it's flat, you've got a larger surface, friction surface. But here, if I play with light, you can see it's domed. That one there. So then it's just less friction. You see that? So something like this. Now you have less friction surface than if it's completely flat. Beautiful. Wonder what these... Oh, they're scratches. Ooh. Ouch. It is really hard to remove this wheel, and I'm not looking forward to that doing under the during the live stream, but I will. And this is not that nice to look at. Please look away if you're faint-hearted because there are quite a few scratches from previous watchmakers. Oh well. I promise to do my full best not to make one scratch extra. But with the finishing I cannot change that. And then again, it's under reflection of the light, under the microscope, in between layers. Here the capstone for the escape wheel. What a piece. And what I like, but that's just me, the insanity of it, that there isn't thread here where you never need it. That is only for winding stems that made in bulk for different cases, so you can make them shorter or make them you can cut them, so you got thread then. But here this stem is made for this watch, and that is just the beauty of that. And just like with real high-end watch straps, there's only one hole. I think yes. A friend of mine is a strap maker here. De-strap watches. I'm not wearing those shoes. Well, maybe this is nice for psychotherapists. But he made this strap from suede. Oh yeah, yeah. And that is the exact suede and color of my tricker shoes. Whatever floats your boat, whatever flicks your switch. And he even made, well, is it visible? Hard to see with this light, but there are holes there, and this is cut out just like my shoes. And there's only one hole in the strap. And I just love the insanity. He made these for me and to fit with the perfect tricker shoes. I only wear one brand of shoes. And the insanity, and that is just lovely to have a watch strap with just the one hole. Cracking toast, Crommet. Olaf, fantastisch gedaan. Olaf Luchten, de-strap. We're not sponsored in any way, but he just makes the loveliest straps of anything. I think he even made straps from somebody's old couch and worn cowboy boots, and he saved some leather from that, and he made watch straps for them, and that is just the straps. Okay, we digress. Okay, first I'm going to remove this spring. So when it's turned around, it's easier to remove the pinion, the sweep second pinion. To reduce the height, again, everywhere you look with this movement, there are lovely surprises of things that are so thought through. Cheers, everybody! This is so enjoyable. Yeah, the watch straps are an art form in itself, definitely. Okay, the broke watch straps, yeah, Peter? Definitely. from a tricker's stow. There are the boots. Just there, because this hole, of course, isn't there just for fun. Again, do you see the shiny bit here on the inside? There is the click. And this is just how Seiko is doing it as well. Not Seiko bashing in any way, because that is a philosophy in itself. So ooh, that one is really tight. Didn't expect that. Oh yeah, here. These lips are slide in between the main plate and the bridge. Do you see that? Here. Of course, the rust. And it slides back. Again, the insanity of watchmaking. Without overlapping the screw hole. So there is some movement here. So now it's detached. Now it's locking. But you see, it isn't overlapping the screw. And now it slides in between. Lovely, lovely stuff. Zo, die gaat ook naar binnen. That one. That one. Winding stem, because there's no power on the mainspring. I'm looking forward to the setting lever spring. Yeah. Beautiful. Die. Abracadabra. I really don't have to explain this, right? Just enough lift. That one. No need to grab them, but I will grab those plates. There, no marks whatsoever on the dial. That's what we're here for. And the pivots are nice on the inside. For quartz watches, I think that is the most common source of defect of a quartz movement being behind, being slow. A quartz movement, it is extremely hard to make that run slow. And for most brands, impossible to do. But if these pivots aren't exactly on the inside of the dial, there is some friction from the side, and that's the most common defect we see here with quartz watches, that the dial isn't centered. Well, the lovely sunburst and now because last week, worst nightmare. Do you see how polished the dial feed screws are? Whichever part you look at Vacheron, it is elegance. Apart from the spring for the sweep second pinion. Everywhere you look there is elegance. Yeah. Well, let's see if we can gently, there we are. Trusty scalpel. Saved my bacon last week. Let's do it with 2 hands. There it is. So, dial is secure. And the finishing continues. Oh, and in a moment I'll show you the genius of this. It's beautiful. First things first, even before saving the date ring, is that incredibly small pivot that has to be secured. Oh, sorry about that. Let's do it like this. Here. Nicely secured. Here. You have to be so careful. You see, the movement is secured. And you can see I don't touch the dial ring while holding the movement like this. That is so important. With another construction, with clamping, insert for a better word, clamping the movement from the side, you can damage the date ring. That's why I almost always remove the date ring first. But now I find this pinion more important. Well, it's not more important, but priority. Then I'm going to remove, really not looking forward to this one. And then I continue with the date ring. And the balance wheel. Busy, busy, busy. A slightly magnetic. There. And usually I do this with the carbon tip tweezers, but these are smaller, and with this Breguet overcoil I'm going to grab both of them at the same time. See that? So no strain on the balance wheel. Oh, just look at that pallet fork. Before I put it in focus. Again, maybe psychoanalysts will have a field day. But with the... I'm not even sure if... I will. The gaffel. The end of the pallet fork of these Vacherons. I immediately have to think about Angus Young of AC/DC. Hope you agree before they give me another white coat with very long sleeves on my back. And mattresses as wallpaper. I hope you agree. With this, I always have to think about Angus Young. Ooh, what is that? I'm not sure what that is, but we'll see. A Masterful pallet fork. Just this. Do you see the inside curve again? Highly polished. This is small. Here, no banking pins, but here the inside, in the design of the pallet fork bridge, is the banking pins. And of course, many modern ones have exactly the same. But this, the execution here, and those studs being highly polished before they are assembled. Here the snailing, which is sunburst but with a slight curve. Oh, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Such a joy and a privilege to work on. Lovely, lovely stuff. I know I was giving priority to the pinion, but well read it. Now it's so nicely supported. Here. Okay, bets are on. Underneath this pallet fork bridge. Will it look like crap or... Oh, slightly underwhelming. Okay, they gave up. And you can see the banking pins. Or not the banking part. And here, this beauty. Oh, it's rust. Yeah. There. Rust on the pallet fork. Again, a thing of beauty. And the curve on the red rubies of the pallets. Just for visual pleasure. Well, I promised you the most sexy automatic, right? I still think it is. Even though they forgot a perlage there and there. And there. Beautiful. Okay, maybe I'm procrastinating because of this wheel. There, the spring. Oh, so far this is the just about the only industrial looking part in the movement. And now one fell swoop. There we are. Oops. No hesitation. Nice and straight. Extremely important. Yeah. There we go. The part I'm not looking forward to do, but we have to. In there. Slokje water. This one of the few jobs that's better from the side. You've probably seen this a few times before. This wheel is coaxial. It shares the pivot with that wheel. That wheel and that wheel both are on the same pivot. Extremely small and delicate pivot. And they can break. They can easily break because it's hardened steel. But, so we have to grip it from the sides and pull it up. So far so good. I really don't want to make more scratches. There are some lines there. So, very thin thingy. You can just make it from paper. That goes underneath. Is there space? Not too much. Not too much. Not too much. There's not even space for a piece of paper. Too thick. Here. Just a piece of plastic. Here. Yeah, is it visible? A piece of plastic there. And with a scalpel here. Oh, now you can see it. Thin plastic. Got to get a bit of give. With a scalpel, I make some space for the pivot. So now, oh, there. So, I hope it's visible that a piece of plastic isolates the part. Do you see that? So it slides around the pivot. That's why I made this cut over there. So now it's just this wheel on top of the plastic. So now if I apply some force on the bridge, I don't make any scratches. But again, not looking forward to this. Here, there's a Presto tool. There's a cut there. and there's a single one over there. So this one is for an odd amount of spokes. This one has 5. So one spoke goes in between them, and I'm trying to grab it, and then it will pull upwards. And the plastic is that I don't make scratches with those thingies. But it has to be exactly straight, otherwise it will break. So it can break. Of course we can fix that. If I can do it straight right, that would be ideal, but this is probably one of the most nerve-wracking jobs in watchmaking for me. And I'm only human. So. There we are. So. Again, I'm only human. So. Now I've deserved a cup of coffee. Here. Wheel detached. Here is the piece of plastic. There it is. And the pivot is still there, which is tiny, hardened steel, and any sideways movement it will break immediately. So I'm not too proud to say that I'm relieved. Okay, cheers everybody. If you enjoyed the stream, please hit the like button. That is so helpful for the growth of the stream. Don't you just love this movement? So today I had a contact with the BHI, the British Horological Institute in Upton Hall in England, or the UK. And we're gonna spar and brainstorm on educational level. Just love that. So. Hehe, waar waren we? Another tricky point. Because still remember the very delicate date ring. But now this pesky pivot on the top is protruding. He's sticking out. So the slightest movement of this and it will break. I cannot remove this bridge and disassemble the gear train because of the cannon pinion. So very delicate. Turn it around. That pivot there is not touching anything. And now we can disassemble this side because the pinion from there is removed. In watchmaking, any seconds it can go wrong. The date ring is held in place by this huge plate. You can see the teeth go underneath this plate there, so it keeps it in place. This spring is keeping it centered there in between the teeth. And this is the hammer. I use plastic so I don't make scratches. Here is a bit of give. And this is, yeah, like a snail. It is pushing out, pushing out, pushing out when this wheel rotates. So this one is being pushed out. And there you can see its spring is under spring tension. That bit over there, sandwiched in between this part, that is moving that way because there's spring tension. Look at this. I'm pushing here, just like the snail would have done. That, see, pushed out. So I'll be pushing here, and when you have a look over here, it is under tension, under tension. There, pushed out, pushed out, pushed out. And then the next, now you see the spring tension, plop. And now it will push to the next position. And this is the spring for the counter force. But here is a tiny other spring. So I wonder if I remove the plate, if those springs will, well, be exposed. Again, the finishing is just wonderful. Again, with the contrast, with the polishing course here in the workshop, as we give it, we keep repeating that the contrast is what makes things nice. And here, the straight graining, en glace, circular graining, never two finishing techniques next to each other. The circular Côte de Genève, straight graining again, straight graining, wonderful. Now I really do have to pay attention. There, to lift up. It might be sandwiched, but I'm not too sure. Oh, look at that. It's all secured underneath that part here. This is one spring. Try to make it like this. Just for fun. With this curve. Those two lumps. So it doesn't move. No screws because of the height. There, the hammer, the spring, perlage, straight graining. And oh, during the straight graining, the piece wasn't flat. Do you see that? There, straight graining. And here, it just missed. Well, there's a human factor in watchmaking. Don't you love that? And yeah, Vacheron never disappoints. In a moment, the yoke spring. Oh. First the Ooh, there's a defect there under the 18. Do you see that? And there. There. Well, I presume it is a 1950s model. I haven't looked it up, just by the design. I think it's 1950s. And it's seen some moisture. And here it's ever so delicate, the perlage. There. No need whatsoever. Just the pride of the finished product. And I promised you a beauty of a yoke spring. Just the elegance. And the setting lever spring. The polished screw heads. At just the right... Oh, nee, ho, ho, ho. Hey, that is interesting. There is no way this screw should be this high. I am quite sure they changed 2 screws. No chance this screw should be there. No. First, the cannon pinion. There should be some friction. So this one is definitely not in the right place. Well, just while we're here. I think we've got a contender, because this one here is way too deep. I hope it's visible. It's got a beautiful finished tip, but here very deep in the movement. And let me see where it is. That one is way sticking out. So probably this one is swapped with that one. That screw is way too deep. What do you think of this spring? Just the elegance and the perfection in execution. Ooh, 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 ooh. Careful. And pay attention. There we are. There we are. This wheel is sticking on the inside. There. Oh. Really greasy, oily, horribly. Here the straight graining on the inside, it is just on look here. These are diamond files. We use it all day, every day, thanks to Hendrik Korpela. But with emery paper, it's just like sandpaper, but way finer. It's just put the item on the emery paper on this file and just do zip. And then you get the straight graining. Nothing to it. But just... So it isn't really the effort of just doing that with the final part. But to do it and to make sure that even underneath the final part there aren't random scratches, it's just a nice finishing. Again, the finishing itself really isn't hard to do, but just the care and just they think of all the crazy tiny details. You can only applaud that. This is a 1950s watch. Ooh. That is trouble in paradise. That is trouble in paradise. Here, winding pinion, sliding pinion, and that grips into this pinion for setting the hands. But that is, ooh, completely worn. I think if I make a side view of just that post, you won't be able to sleep tonight. That is... Look at that. Completely worn. By... not by winding, by setting the hands. It's been pushed inwards of the where are we? There, it's been pushed inwards, and that should be a round post. You can see maybe even a quarter is gone. The top is the original diameter. You see the flat bit on top? It is, one side is completely worn. And I don't think it is an individual post. It might be part of the main plate. Well, this is an individual post or pivot. That bit is steel and pushed into the brass main plate. That is not it. Where are we? There. One below. There. Here you can see the yellowy bit. There. So that is not a steel pivot or post. Pivot is more smaller, and this is somewhere where a pivot, a pinion revolves around. So we call it post over here. Maybe there's another term for that. Maybe we have to drill it out and replace it with a steel post, but it is incredibly small and it has to be perfectly centered, otherwise the teeth of the sliding pinion will break. This is a huge headache. Pooh. Well, that is a bit worn, but shouldn't present any problems. If we remove this plate and we see underneath here in a moment, then we see if it's an individual post or a milled out part of the main plate. The setting lever screw is stuck in the bridge. So I'm going to release the setting lever and hopefully the screw will be there we are. Again, perlage on the inside, radial graining, black polished screw, and here this is exactly how Seiko is doing it. The click to make it as flat as possible. And this beautiful part. Okay, by design the setting lever came off so I wouldn't have to strain the screw from the bridge, but now, yeah, here. No post, hardly any space. So that post that is completely worn is part of the main plate. A ratchet wheel. Perlage underneath the main barrel. The glorious insanity of haute horlogerie. But this is something we really have to... Oh, the wiggle wiggle test. Yeah. Could be worse. There, just a bit. There we go. Oh, yeah. This one was too long. Oh, yeah, it is. And this one I just removed. Those two were switched. See that? Here should be a way smaller screw. Well, the pivot's still in place, so we have to be very careful with this bridge. Not to move it sideways. There we are. You see the inside of the rubies being curved to reduce friction. Just the level of detail. Well, here you see some moisture marks. And what is that? Oh, there's strange lubrication there. And this is probably watermarks moisture in the center wheel. This horrible part still in one piece. Second wheel. The secondenrad, fourth wheel. And escape wheel with the tiniest pivots. Ooh, and you see some rust inside the pinion there. Ooh, that has to be cleaned. Do you see out of focus? The highly shiny part, even better when in focus. Highly polished teeth. Oh. The sheer beauty of that. Okay, all delicate parts are removed. Now, yeah. There, right in between the end of the box and the tiny hole. Do you see that? There it is completely worn. So on the other side, it is right in between the end of the box and the tiny hole. So we have to determine where the center is of that post. And then make under the lathe a steel pin, just the right size and height and finishing and diameter. Now that is restoring. Oh, do you see the moisture there? I didn't realize it at first. Do you see that? Wow. So that is restoration. But let's move back to the start of the show. This is how we got started. The journey into haute horlogerie. And I really do hope you enjoyed the insanity of Vacheron Constantin. So that's it. I really do hope you enjoyed this stream as much as I did. Thank you so much for allowing me on your screen, because really feel we are doing this together. If you like the stream, please hit the like button. And for me, this is such a privilege to work on high quality vintage watches. But as you can see with the wear and tear, the restoration is going to be a hell of a job, but we'll manage, and this is worth to give to the next generation, don't you think? All of you, please hit the like button. Hope to see you next week. And we are working on some more content for in between. So enjoy your evening and see you soon. Hey, see ya. Bye bye.